Y'all ready to be history?
Get started.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
To the Pro Audio Suite.
These guys are professional. They're motivated.
Thanks to TriBooth, the best vocal booth for home or on-the-road voice recording. And Austrian Audio, making passion heard. Introducing Robert Marshall from Source Elements and Someone Audio Post, Chicago. Darren Robbo Robertson from Voodoo Radio Imaging, Sydney. Tech to the VO Stars, George the Tech Whittam from LA. And me, Andrew Peters, voiceover talent and home studio guy.
Line up, learner!
Here we go.
And welcome to another Pro Audio Suite, and welcome to 2025. Thanks to TriBooth, I think the code still works, TRIPAP 200. That will get you $200 off your TriBooth. And Austrian Audio, making passion heard. Well. It is 2025. Austrian Audio, being a great supporter of us, have now been purchased by a Danish microphone company called DPA. I saw that this morning. So if you're listening to this months down the track, then you're probably going, yeah, that happened months ago.
Finally, something to give that company credibility.
Well, it's interesting because the DPA is like really sort of right up there when it comes to super high-end quality microphones. And they make it like really small microphones.
Yeah, and only microphones, not headphones as well, which is kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And also they're probably more targeting film.
Yeah, I was going to say Austrian Audio is probably more musical in terms of their stuff as opposed to where DPA is more a broadcast specialty, yeah.
I don't know, man. DPA is very well known in like classical music too.
Okay.
Like by far. Like those, like if you're recording a high-end orchestra, there's probably a DPA mic there. It's like some of their instrument mics for, piano and the little tiny lav mics that are adapted also for instrument use. They're very much on stage and in the orchestra.
They're up there with Sheps, right?
I don't see DPA in the studio as much as where you don't see DPA.
Well, I'll be honest, I hadn't heard much about DPA at all. They were sort of a brand that I'd heard of, and when I saw you guys talking about it on the email this morning, I went and had a look.
Maybe you know them by B&K.
Okay, yeah, well, there you go. So I went and had a look this morning, and at first glance, that was my sort of take on it was, wow, they seem a bit more broadcast specialised than the musical stuff that sort of Austrian Audio is doing. But when you start talking about it that way...
Well, it does make sense because it's like if they're covering quite a lot of territory where, Austrian Audio focused mainly on music. Where now that with DPA, I mean, the two companies combined, they've got pretty well everything covered from... forensic microphones to lav microphones to boom mics. And now they've, got the Austrian Audio brand to throw in there.
You could probably
I'm just
argue
curious
that
to see whether they actually do merge.
Yeah. You could probably argue that Austrian Audio is a little more or there are some products in the Austrian Audio range that's a little more consumer too, I suppose. Yeah.
DPA never went down to that level. And even in the mics that might be similar, like the OC8, the DPA small diaphragm microphones are like $2,500 each, and the specs are insane. They're basically measurement microphones coming from their B&K lineage, and then the Austrian Audio mics are a little bit more attainable. I mean, what's a pair of OC8s cost? Maybe they're $500 a piece.
Or CC8s, I think you mean, don't you?
The CC8, the condenser, the small diaphragm condenser. What is that, like $500 a piece?
The pencil condenser, yeah, CC8.
Yeah, DPA even has a drum microphone kit, which has a very complete drum miking setup, right?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Everything. It's 5Gs.
Oh, geez.
That's right, exactly.
OG, yeah. But that's nothing because you can spend that on a pair of overheads with them.
True.
Sure. But the one that fascinated me, I sort of watched a couple of videos. The Curtis guy was doing a shootout between a 416 and their 2017 shotgun mic. So they've got two shotguns. They've got a 4017 and a 2017. He put up the 2017 against the 416, and you could hear the difference. I mean, the 2017 from DPA was more natural in its sound as opposed to the hyped 41.6, and I don't think it's as directional as the 41.6 either. So, because I was kind of curious to see if that would be a really good alternative to a 416 for voiceover. It may be, but I wouldn't necessarily use it on the road. I'm guessing.
I had a quick look at their shotguns. They're not nowhere near as hyped as the 41.6.
What is?
True, I know, but they are, yeah.
Yeah, I would think that they wouldn't go for any hyped stuff. I think they kind of pride themselves on being the definition of flat. I mean, honestly, when you look at a lot of microphones, I was over at Shure, for example, and what measurement microphone were they using? They had a B&K mic, which is basically a DPA mic that they were measuring their microphones against.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
They're a
Interesting
kit.
company. I'm
They're a
curious to see what
DPA
happens.
Decatree, the surround S5 surround / Decatree mount for pencil microphones.
$15,000.
That thing is amazing. It looks like a head crab or some kind of creature, but actually it looks like a drone because except it's got 5 different mic points on it. But yeah, I mean, this is cutting edge, and this is for really kind of money is no object kind of production. Classical film. Things with quite hefty budgets. And so I'm sure they don't see the Austrian audio line as really stepping on their line that much. So it makes sense. And I'm sure Austrian audio was feeling the crunch the last 2 years, giving out, promoting, touring, going to events. That stuff's super expensive. And, I'm sure they've got some VC money that needs to get paid back too. So
yeah.
It's all expensive running these companies. So I can see. I mean, I'm glad that they're gonna this kind of thing will allow them to stick around.
Well, I was going to say there's not a lot. In a sense, even though they're both microphone companies, there's not a lot of overlap. DP does not have anything like a OC818,
No.
for example. And maybe the only one that slightly overlaps is the CC8. Sort of, but not, because also I think that introduces, pencil mics to a price point that DPA never really approached, essentially, for their pencil and small diaphragm microphones. So I think it's a fairly complementary lineup. They can entertain some new and different customers and get some large diaphragm stuff going on.
I would personally like to try out one of their headset mics to see if it's quality. I mean, the quality of the mics are not an issue. Like, that is for sure not a problem. Like, their small capsule mics have been used on film sets aplenty. The one movie that came out a number of years ago that really, really showed off DPA mics and how good they are was the Les Mis.
Do you think their headset mics sound like this one?
Much better than that. So they what they did in that film was they prioritized getting the sound on set above all. It's really fascinating. I should find that article, but I heard the interview with the gentleman who was the production sound mixer on that film, and he somehow won a battle where they decided that we want to get live sound on set for all singing. Everything's in sync. Nothing is dubbed. And so that means even when they're getting medium and wide shots, they would still have a lav mic on costume, not in costume, but on costume, and digitally paint it out.
Wow.
So they could have that mic in the perfect spot.
That's cool.
So when you see people singing in that film and they have these, I saw it in the theater, they were leaning into these ultra close-up shots of people singing. So it's like a head filling the entire screen, singing for like a minute straight. And you're like, this is awkward. But it's because they weren't lip syncing.
Yeah, that's cool.
They didn't have to worry about sync. It was flawless because all the singing on the set was recorded live. The only thing in that musical that was not live was the very opening sequence of the film. It's like a sequence that's like in a ship dock, and the sea is. It was much too noisy on set. Like, there was wind machines and it was chaos, and that's dubbed. But everything else is actually live, and it was all done with DPA mics. So quality is not a problem. Self noise would be the issue. Those little micro capsules have a relatively high self noise. So I'm really curious to see how they work.
That's the whole thing with any mic. In theory, the smaller the mic, the more accurate, but the noise floor goes up.
Right.
So your large diaphragm condensers are quieter, but they theoretically start to have phase issues because one end of the capsule is doing a different thing than the other end of the capsule. Because the whole wave hits it. The whole capsule is like the wave.
So what is the perfect intersection of, sensitivity, accuracy, and self-noise? Like, what is the...
My lab
size.
tries it. My lab tries to do this with rectangular capsules. So they claim that the small dimension is the small diaphragm, and then the large rectangular part is the large diaphragm, and they claim that's sort of like the hybrid of the two approaches. But
Whoa.
I don't know.
It's funny you say about the rectangular, because I noticed that DPA for their micro capsules are rectangular. From what I
are
saw.
they? Or are they just rectangular in the frame of it, or the actual? I don't know. Yeah.
I just had a quick run through their site, and I was looking at the manufacturing of their capsules, and it looked to me like they were the micro capsules were rectangular.
Like the 4060, the 4061, those little guys are rectangular. You can't
so.
tell from the outside because it's got a round grill on it.
No, those are circular. Because I have a 40. I have the Omni that takes 192 volts instead of 48 volts. And that's definitely a round capsule.
So the ones I was looking at a video, and I could see them manufacturing, and it looked like, to me, it was a rectangular capsule. So
They do actually give the spec for the cell equivalent noise level, and it's about 26 dB. So compared to really any studio mic, that would be quite high. Compared to a handheld like a handheld live condenser, or like this one, this CC, what's this thing called? The
there's an OC.
OC707. That's the mic I'm on right now. That is relatively not that far off, actually, in terms of soft noise. So these things are much smaller diaphragms, and they're still eking out some impressive self noise numbers. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
The number that gave way was the price.
Yeah. Well, yeah. These little 4060s start at $500, and of course that's just the capsule. Period. You still need to get the preamp, or the connector,
The body.
the body that plugs into your whatever it is, a body pack or whatever the interface is, right? So not as bad as I thought it would be, to be frank. $500 for something that's really the top of the food chain isn't too crazy. So
So they kind of fall like DPM must fall somewhere like the ships in that kind of area. Do you think?
They are, they're maybe, Sheps maybe has a reputation for being a little bit more musical, and DPA may be a little bit more scientific, but I think that comes from DPA's original history of being a measurement microphone when they were B&K. So, but you know it's funny? Look at Mike W from China, and then look at how they completely ripped off DPA's grill.
Oh, really? Yeah.
they get away with a lot over there in China. They really do.
I'm having a look on the DPA website. They've got some really cool blogs, and one of them, what's this one called? 12 Fun Ways to Use Miniature Microphones. And there's a whole bunch of them. They're showing like they've got a sweatband on a guy with a tambourine, and they've got the sort of the lavalier sort of stuck through there, recording the thing. But one of them, a bit further down the page, they've created a figure 8 with 2 omnis. And it says, sometimes it's fun to experiment with extreme directionality of microphones. For instance, you can create a figure of 8 characteristic by connecting 2 miniature omni microphones to one input. All it takes is that the microphones have a balanced output, which they don't. However, if you used an XLR adapter, you can apply 2 identical miniature mics and phase inverter on one of them, and then the 2 signals have a passive summing device. Add the 2 signals using a passive summing device, and you basically make a little figure of 8 using these 2 little Omni lavalier mics. It's very clever.
You can do really neat stuff on the mics that small. But I'm looking at their step inside the DPA factory, and the very first shot is like an exploding view of one of those small capsule mics. And while the grill is circular and the body's circular, actually what's inside there is a rectangular capsule that comes out of the head. Yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah, it's a little rectangular capsule.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Well, there's a metal frame around the capsule, but it's hard to see what's inside that metal frame.
I can't say I've been ever brave enough to try to open my mic up, so
I really don't want to.
I'm surprised, Robert. I'm very surprised.
Yeah.
It's very cool, though. Yeah, the film is really neat. I would definitely recommend it. Go to the dpamicrophones.com/our-company. And there's a really, really great little documentary about their factory. I mean, it's the ultimate of quality and precision for sure. I hope it takes, Austrian Audio well into the future, and that they can stay a viable company for a long time instead of getting bought by a giant conglomerate like, that ended up getting bought by Samsung, which was the fate of AKG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't move down market. I think they moved with a company that's going to give a crap and not just be like, how many did you sell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they will care, but they will very much want to keep the quality and the soul of the company, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
They probably met with the team at Austrian Audio and went, hey, these guys are kind of smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sort of on the same thought level as they are. So
Yeah.
interesting. Well, we shall watch this page.
Well, that was fun. Is it over?
The Pro Audio Suite, with thanks to TriBooth and Austrian Audio. Recorded using Source Connect. Edited by Andrew Peters and mixed by Voodoo Radio Imaging with tech support from George the Tech Whittam. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and join in the conversation on our Facebook group. To leave a comment, suggest a topic, or just say g'day, drop us a note at our website, theproaudiosuite.com.